Hey folks, this is Arcaden with part 1 of a beginner's guide on how to launch a rocket and reach your first planet in Factorio Space Age. I remember when I first started playing the game years ago, I was able to get the basics going, but the thought of launching a rocket felt real far away. If you're in a similar situation, this video series is designed to help you out. It's going to tell you the key milestones you'll need to hit starting from the beginning of the game and ending when you land safely on your first planet. The series will show you one way to do things, but the goal is to move you beyond understanding the basic recipes to a point where you could start to strategize how you, specifically, want to get to space. For part 1, we're going to be focused on our first milestone, automated smelting. So, you've crash landed on Nauvis. What's the first thing you do? Press Alt. Hey look, there's ammo in the ship. The second thing you should do is work towards automating your smelting. This means getting to a point where you could mine resources like iron ore, copper ore, and stone, get them into a smelter, turn them into usable materials, and load those materials onto a conveyor belt, all without touching any of it. This is a vital step in getting you ready to scale up production. To get to that point, we're going to set up manual mining and smelting, start our first power grid, research some key technologies, set up initial defenses, create our first little mini factory, explore a bit to get the lay of the land, and then make the switch. So let's start by getting manual smelting up and running for iron ore, copper ore, and stone. Set up a bunch of burner mining drills and have them directly inserting into stone furnaces. Both of these machines need fuel. You could use wood in a pinch, but you'll quickly want coal, which you'll also have to mine and then manually load into the machines. This part is like a circle. You make more iron plates to make more burner mining drills, to mine coal, to fuel your miners, to make miners, to make more plates, to make more miners, to you get it. It's the circle of production. Control-click is your best friend here. Holding down Control and clicking on a building removes the finished product from that building. If you Control-click while holding an item in your cursor, say coal, it is loaded into the machine. That's how you're going to unload and load all these buildings without having to open every single one. You'll start small here, but the bigger you go, the faster you'll move. As an example, here's where I ended up before switching over to automated smelting. Next, set up your first power grid using steam power. Make sure to pick a place to do this where you'll have room to expand, as this is going to be your main source of power for a while. This is where I ended up at the end of one of my full playthroughs. Something to know here is I feed the boilers with burner inserters, because when power goes down, this allows them to still move coal into the boilers without electricity, which can save your butt and has saved mine a few times. Now, it's research time. Plop down 1 or 2 research labs and manually craft enough red science packs to research military, turrets, and automation. I prioritize protection technologies at this stage. A lot does depend on your map and where the biter bases are, but I think as a rule, it's good to have turrets and the submachine gun as soon as possible. Once that's researched, get a few turrets down to cover your current production buildings. You don't need a ton of ammo in these. Any attacks you have at this point are usually going to be pretty small. I think I usually have 6 or so ammo in each. Over time, you'll get a sense of where attacks are going to come from, and you could reinforce that area with more turrets. Next, research the rest of the red sciences. I have this little build here where I feed iron and copper plates into it, and the rest of the science process is automated. You just drop a bunch of materials in the chest and then it goes pretty quickly. At some point during this, you'll research steel, and then you want to set up a small amount of manual steel production. I just add some stone furnaces like this. You don't need a ton of steel right away. Now, you get to make your first little mini factory. Try not to go too big here. Everything now is manually fed. If you go too big, you're just going to spend all of your time running between your furnaces and empty chests and you'll go insane. The goal is to automate smelting, so keep production and actions focused on that. For your first little factory, start with a focus on gears, wire, circuits, your key intermediate products, and yellow ammo to help protect yourself. Once you got that up and running and intermediate products are getting produced, expand this mini factory to include production for inserters, electric miners, belts, and furnaces. You're going to need a lot of each of these to automate smelting. Think in the hundreds for inserters, miners, and furnaces, and even more for belts. Just keep this thing moving by continuing to return and drop in iron and copper plates, and you'll get there over time. If you come up with a design that you like here, you should definitely blueprint it. That's a great way to make new playthroughs quicker, and it's vital if you're going for any of the speed achievements. At this point, automate some wall production. Walls take a while to produce at this stage, as your initial stone patch is pretty small. Starting early ensures that you'll have a bunch of these for when you want to really focus on building defenses. I have this cute little build here that automates that and furnaces at the beginning of the game. Somewhere around this point, as all production is happening and science is sciencing, I like to take a stroll to reveal the map up to the edges of my pollution cloud. I'm looking to see if there are any biter bases that I'm going to start activating with pollution soon. If there are, I could reinforce defenses in that direction in advance. Now, biters can switch up their angle of attack, so make sure your production buildings are covered, but a small wall with turrets like this can do a lot at the beginning of the game, if you know where the biters are coming from. If you need, or want, to take out a biter base at this point, I recommend you wait until you have researched Weapon Damage 1 and Weapon Speed 1. Craft some heavy armor, get the submachine gun, pack up a good amount of ammo, some repair packs, and 6 or more turrets, and then you could get going. The easiest thing to do right now is use the turret creep technique. Place 2 turrets down with some ammo, aggro the biters, wipe them out. Place 2 more down closer to the base, aggro the biters, wipe them out. Continue to place turrets closer and closer to the base until the whole thing is toast. Also around this time, I plopped down some radars near the edge of my pollution cloud so I could start revealing more land. So, production is moving. Our base is relatively protected. Now is a good time to start planning out your bigger base. To get to the point where you can make a good decision on where to do that, you want to be able to see far around your base where the additional resource patches are. This means you need the car. Produce enough green and red science packs to unlock the car and its related technologies. I also unlock grenades at this point because you're going to need them to clear trees. All told, that means you need 420 science packs. For green science, that means 420 inserters and belts. I produce that amount, put them into an expanded manual science area, and let it go. Eventually, science will be fully automated, but we don't need to do that right now. Craft your car, you'll need engines, which you can't craft manually, and then go for a long ride. I look for a few things here. First, I want to find ideally 2 of each resource patch so I understand where I'm going to be pulling materials from. I also am looking to see what natural barriers I could use, water or cliffs, to help protect my base. With all of that map revealed and that knowledge, we can now plan. So, looking at this map, where do I want to put my factory? Let's take a very brief pause here and look at a more advanced factory to get a sense of the scale that we'll need. So this factory is close to the Space Age victory condition. You can see the smelters are up here. There's a main bus, which is a highway essentially for important materials, and that leads down the center. Production happens on one side of the bus, and the other side is where I make science packs. So this here is the size of the main factory that we're going to be getting to. So if I go back to my current map, I'm going to smelt materials here and send those and other key products down in this direction on a main bus. I like this direction because there aren't a ton of natural barriers like cliffs in the way, so expansion should be easy. Production will go down here and both take and add items to the bus. Science will be produced and researched up here. Then I can make this area in back of the smelters a big train unloading area. I also see some ways to cut off the base from biters, but we're not worried about that yet. Don't get overwhelmed with this decision. You can always change things up. Factorio is a process of undoing and redoing. The call you need to make here is just where do you want to put your smelters? Oh, and by the way, you probably need to go feed your manual basics and science factory at this point. You'll be constantly returning to make that happen. Don't worry, that'll end soon. For automated smelting, I use this beautiful build. You'll see it everywhere. I don't know who first created it, but it's great. You could feed in coal and the raw material and it puts them both on one belt and sends them down these 2 sides. This setup produces a full yellow belt of iron and copper plates when fully saturated. 15 per second. It's just lovely. And even though I don't remember which YouTuber it was where I got this, I do remember being amazed at how fast he could build them. Not knowing one day I too would have built a stupid amount of these and become quite efficient at it. Initially, you want to build 5 smelting lines. It's going to be 1 for iron, 2 for steel, 1 for copper, and 1 for stone. But plan in your head for space for at least 10. The actual space you'll need will depend on how you end up building your factory. Now is probably a good time to mention one of my main rules of thumb for Factorio. Always give yourself more space than you think you're going to need. Especially as you're learning the game, you'll often put things too close together. The map is infinite. Take the space. So once you know where you're building your smelting lines, start clearing rocks and trees to make room. Embrace your inner onceler. After that, you're ready to do the switch, the process of moving from manual smelting and production to automated smelting and production. I wait until I have enough materials to do the whole thing in one swoop. It takes a bit, so put on some music, and here's how that goes. First, build the 5 smelting lines. This is a bit monotonous, but try to enjoy the pleasure of small, repetitive actions eventually leading to visible achievement. That's why we do this. Now you want to get your power ready. Very soon you're going to have a bunch of electric miners and inserters right on your grid, so build up your steam power setup so it doesn't poop out in the middle of the switch. Shoot for 12 boilers and 24 steam engines at this point. Next, you want to automate your coal mining. You are going to be relying on coal for power and smelting for a while, so you want that production to be steady. Remove all of your coal burner miners, replace them with electric miners, get those miners on the grid. Then run a belt from the coal miners in 2 directions. One goes towards the smelting line, where it will feed the furnaces. The other goes to the steam power build. At this point, you want to switch this over so your boilers are taking coal off of the conveyor belt and automatically loading them. It's going to give you a lot more stability. Next, I usually do the iron. Your first iron patch is usually almost big enough for 2 yellow belts of iron ore. Keep in mind, every 30 miners at this stage in the game produces 15 iron ore per second, which is a full yellow belt. This means we're going to create 2 smelting lines, one for iron plates and one for steel. Similar to coal, get rid of all the burner miners and replace them with electric miners. Organize your belts so at least 30 miners are outputting onto one belt. You'll use that for iron plate production. The rest of the miners can output onto the second belt. Then run the iron ore to the smelting line. For the iron plate smelter, feed the iron into the build and connect the coal. Make sure the smelting line is connected to the electrical grid, and then, hey, look at that, our first automated iron plate production line. To make steel, we need to further smelt iron plates. So, run the second belt of iron ore into a smelting line. Then route the iron plates from that into another smelting line. Now you have steel production. Use the same process to get your copper and stone connected. The stone belt won't be close to saturated at this point, but that's okay. For now, you just need it automated. Once those smelting lines are moving, you also want to get 2 more resources in a position that they could be easily added onto your production lines. That's coal and stone. Both of these will be needed soon. So just use a splitter to run some coal all the way to the end of the smelting line, and then do the same for a belt of stone. Finally, put down some turrets to protect these smelting lines. This is temporary. Very soon you'll be focusing on a bigger defensive strategy, but this will keep you relatively safe just in case. And there you go, look at that. We have reached our first milestone on the way to getting off Nauvis. We have achieved automated smelting and are producing a good amount of items per second now. And that's part 1, folks. In the next video, we'll focus on how to defend all this so we could build in peace. If you want to catch that video, definitely hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified when it comes out. I'm expecting that to be either Monday or Tuesday of next week. In the meantime, please do like and comment, let me know what you think, share your expertise and advice, enjoy your building, and thanks for watching.